Um, okay, I'm really excited to be speaking to Professor Tom Sperlinger today from the University of Bristol. And the reason I'm going to be talking to him is because of his book that we teach in our first year in the English Literature and Creative Writing Department at Lancaster University. It's called Romeo and Juliet in Palestine, Teaching Under Occupation. Now, part of why I want to talk to Tom today is because I think sometimes in times of crisis and such as the present moment with COVID-19, that we can sometimes feel that studying, reading, writing about English literature and other literatures can feel like a luxury, like an added extra, unimportant compared to the more serious things of life. And this is a book that is very much about teaching literature, teaching Shakespeare in a very difficult and critical situation. So I want to just start off by asking you a little bit more about what the book is about for those who haven't read it. So can you tell us a little bit about how the book came about and what it's about?
Sure. Hi, Jo. Well, thanks for inviting me to come and talk to you today. So the book is based on a semester in 2013 that I spent teaching at Al-Quds University. And Al-Quds is the Arabic name for Jerusalem. So in kind of ordinary times, if there is such a thing in Jerusalem, it would be the University of Jerusalem, and it would be drawing in students from, the whole kind of region around there. But in the circumstances that it's in currently, Al-Quds has a small campus in the city of Jerusalem, and then its main campus is in Abu Dis, which is a town just outside Jerusalem. But basically between those two campuses sits the wall that marks the kind of dividing line at the moment between Israel and the West Bank. And that means if you're a student at Al-Quds, if you live in Jerusalem, but your classes are on the Abu Dis campus, it can take you up to an hour and a half to get to school, because you have to go a long way around the wall and go through checkpoints and so on. And it also has lots of kind of practical implications for students when they're on campus. So if you come to the kind of front gate of the Abu Dis campus, if you think of the front gate of your school or your workplace, you'd kind of go to the front gate and you'd kind of look across the road expecting to see, I don't know, a cafe or, an office block or something of that kind. And at Al-Quds, the first thing that you see is the wall. And over that, you can kind of see Jerusalem in the distance. And that kind of continuing presence of the wall and lots of the other kind of apparatus of the occupation gives you a sense of the way in which kind of day to day that situation impacts those students in their ordinary lives and also in their studies.
Great, thank you. And so how did you come to be teaching there? Because when we used to work together at Bristol University, it's not the entrance to Bristol University or the entrance to the English Literature Department is quite benign, quite friendly, quite easy. So you've gone from teaching English literature at Bristol to teaching at Al-Quds. So tell us a little bit more about how that came about.
So that was basically happened by chance. In 2008, I introduced someone called Sari Nasabi at an event in Bath, and he's a philosopher, and he had written a book that's actually a kind of family history about his family and their connections to Jerusalem. But he was also at that time the president of Al-Quds University, and he invited me to come and visit them. And it was through that visit that I got to know people in the English department, sat in on some classes there, and then they invited me to come out and teach for a semester. And that's what, in a way, was so exciting about the time that I spent there, and what made me want to come back and write about it, was that what was kind of interesting about it was doing my day job, doing the job that I do in Bristol of teaching Shakespeare or Kafka or short stories or whatever it is, but doing it in this context where everything else was kind of unfamiliar to me and new.
Right. And how did that experience affect you? So what was it like when you arrived? It was, I imagine it was quite I can only imagine it. I've not actually been to the West Bank, but I can only imagine it was quite shocking or quite hard to adjust, was it?
I think it helped that I'd built up a relationship with the English department at Al-Quds. So I'd been there a few times, and I'd sat in on some classes and I'd talked to them in advance about the teaching I was going to do. And I think if I hadn't done all of that and I'd just been kind of thrown straight into the teaching, that would have been much harder. But because I'd started to build up that relationship, in a way, at least I knew what I didn't know. I knew kind of what bits of the situation were going to be strange and unfamiliar to me. And there would then be a kind of core of it in the classroom, which was about what do we all think about this text, and why do some people not like it and some people do like it, and what's hard about it to get into, and how does it seem relevant to us, and how does it seem remote from us. That core was really familiar from talking about books in classrooms in Bristol. And in a way, that what I've tried to capture in the book is that sense of the strange and the familiar kind of going on at the same time.